That's all right. We can. And this is all stirred up because of that article in the newspaper. 23rd. It is stirred up. After the name. Just take your time.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Keokuk City Council meeting, September 1st, 2022, 501 Main Street, 5:30 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Crenshaw,
Here.
Altai,
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Wynn.
Here.
Lowenthal. Andrews.
Here.
Bryant.
Here.
Greenwald.
Here.
7 present.
Item number 4, mayor's correspondence. Friday, tomorrow, September 2nd, we have First Friday again here in Keokuk, so you shop local. Businesses are open till 8 o'clock. And something new is going to be a movie being shown on the outside wall at Lucky's. And so that's at 8 o'clock p.m. So come on out and shop local, eat local, and come and join the night. Number 2, Nauvoo Grape Festival begins tomorrow at 1 p.m. Rolling Down the River Car Show and Food, sponsored by the Warsaw Lions Club, begins tomorrow from 4 to 9 p.m. in the evening. And Keokuk football game is at Mount Pleasant at 7:30 p.m. And if you can't get there, listen to Keokuk, Radio Keokuk, and you'll be able to hear play-by-play. Saturday, September 3rd, Farmers Market from 8 to 11:30 at the River City Mall. Rolling Down the River Car Show moves to Hamilton, and it starts at 8 a.m. in Hamilton. The Grape Festival and breakfast will start at 7 o'clock a.m. And the Iowa Hawkeyes season begins with a home game against South Dakota State Jackrabbits at 11 a.m. On Sunday, September 4th, one more thing on Saturday is Fill the Boot fundraiser. It's cornhole tournament and food, and sign up is at 12 o'clock and the tournament begins at 1, and all the proceeds go to MDA, and it's sponsored by our Keokuk Fire Department at the Southside Boat Club on the riverfront. Then we have on Sunday, September 4th, the Grape Festival continues, and it starts at 8 a.m. with the Rolling Down the River Car Show that has ended there in Nauvoo. Then Monday, September 5th, it's Labor Day Parade at 11 o'clock a.m., followed by fun, food, and music and kids' games at the Southside Boat Club in Keokuk. There's plenty of things there to do. With all that being said, I'd like to reach out. I reached out today to area factories and businesses as well as task force. For those of you who are looking for employment after being let go at ADM, you can apply at Roquette, Pinnacle, Climax, Allied Blending. We have 2 city jobs open. If you have a CDL, it is required, or start working on one if you would like to try to apply for that. St. Louis Gear is hiring, and there are many, many small businesses hiring according to task force. Then last and certainly not least, please understand that myself, Cole, our city administrator, Cole O'Donnell, and the city of Keokuk are as shocked and as upset as everyone about the closing of Blessing Hospital here in Keokuk. Please know that we are working nonstop to find a solution to patient emergency care in this community. We have spent the day reaching out to our government officials and as well as to patient care providers to find a way to provide emergency care to Keokuk. We will not stop until we find that solution. Item number 5, citizens' request. If you have something that you'd like to come forward and talk to us about, please come to the podium and please state your name and your address. Please try to keep it at a limited amount of time and speak up because sometimes we can't hear real well.
Hello, my name is Kira Krasinski. I'm the Executive Director of Main Street Keokuk. Good to see everyone this evening. I'm coming with just kind of a hodgepodge of updates around the Main Street District. As you all know, Linda Marsden had been the Main Street Council Liaison. That position is now open. So if anybody is interested, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you about it in more detail. It's a great partnership that the city has with Main Street Keokuk, and we want to continue that. We want it to be the best that it can be. And so filling that council role is really important. I also want to let you know Year to date in 2022, we have seen $1.6 million in investment downtown. That's an acquisition and building improvements. We're really excited about that. We've also logged over 280 volunteer hours so far this year. And both those numbers are set to go up. So we're looking forward to that. In just a couple of months, we're going to be starting a new fundraising project it's called Hometown Heroes. It's going to be a banner project where we honor our local veterans. We're going to be working with the American Legion to get that going. So it's something you can kind of keep an eye out for. We hope to start that right around Veterans Day. Main Street Keokuk is also preparing to apply for a Main Street Challenge grant with the Main Street Iowa program and the Iowa Economic Development Authority. We'll be doing that for the property owners at 1000 Main Street. And that's a potential award for up to $100,000 for building improvements there. So again, really, really wonderful news for the district. I want to, while I'm here, give a plug. I know it's coming up later on the agenda for the Historic Preservation Commission. The reestablishment of that commission is so vital to preserving our history here in Keokuk and to being able to improve our historic buildings in particular. The certified local government status that the HPC is pursuing is really important for that because it opens us up to a lot of different grant funding through the CLG. So I just want to give her a plug for that. I'm excited that it's on the agenda that's happening. And I want to thank the city and KIP for their work with it. And finally, thank you, Mayor, for the First Friday plug. First Friday is tomorrow. You know, this is an after-hours promotion that we've been trying to get going since May of this year. I invite everyone to come out. Our retailers will be open till 8 p.m. Our participating bars and restaurants are doing dinner and drink specials. And then, as the mayor said, Lucky's is hosting a movie on the side of their building starting at 8. So thanks very much.
Any more citizens' requests?
Hello, I'm Tony Fox. I'm here for Decker Manufacturing, 312 Blondo Street. I'm here to talk about the franchise fee and the other new regulations that are being imposed upon all of us by the city managers and the city council. I will be talking about Decker Manufacturing, not because Decker is the only employer that I'm concerned about, but because the Decker employees are the only ones that I am responsible for. At the last city council meeting that I attended, I asked if the city was going to make deals with some of the larger corporations or if all franchise fees for local businesses would be equal. We are all told no special deals would be made. Now I'm here to discuss the issue again because it seems as though some deals have been made. This is not one of those claims that big business or the rich people are not paying their fair share. What I'm asking is, who has decided that one industrial facility in our community should be asked to pay 1% on the electricity they consume to run their business, while another industrial facility should be asked to pay 3 times that amount on the electricity they consume to run their business? I asked our city manager about this. He says the city is not doing this. Alliant Energy is hard to work with, and they'll only do it this way. I spoke with a representative of Alliant Energy. She says, we're only doing what the city asked us to do. The way our billing system works is based on rate class. The larger companies in Keokuk are in a different rate class, so we can set their franchise fees lower than everyone else's. That's how the system works. We go by the amount of electricity used, not how it is used. I had a local option tax on my December 2021 bill from Alliant Energy. At the right of that is a note saying that I was exempt from a portion of that tax because the electricity used was for the manufacturing process. The sales tax is listed just below, showing that as a manufacturing facility, I am also exempt from a portion of that sales tax. On my January 13th, 2022 Alliant Energy bill, I have a 1%, wait a minute, excuse me. The 1% local option tax has been replaced by a 1.5% franchise fee. No exemptions. I am told it is not possible to be exempt from any portion of the franchise fee. That will be going to 3%. The reason is the billing system is based on rate class and cannot be changed. In other words, it's the computer system's fault. The machines are now in charge. I don't buy that excuse. Just below the franchise fee on the same bill, I still have my sales tax, which I am still exempt from a portion of on that bill with the same billing system, because the state and federal government have deemed me a manufacturer. Other Southeast Iowa cities like Mount Pleasant, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with a couple people from there in the last few days, are moving forward with large projects, bringing in new jobs, building new homes in their communities. Keokuk is very busy going the other way. We're running businesses out of town with new higher fees and regulations. I think the end goal here is to have all of us pay the 3% as long as we can blame it on somebody else. I would like to hear from each council member on this issue. Do you support the 3% for all, or do you agree that businesses that create jobs in our community should be charged at a lower rate?
Well, I'll answer first for you then. As you see on today's agenda, that is a tabled item from the last meeting, because when the points you brought forward about the coding system was brought to our attention, the council did not feel comfortable moving forward until we were able to figure out how to make this equitable. The original intention was industrial, and we wanted industrial to all be the same regardless of size. Alliant Energy told us that's not the case. And so we have put the brakes on this, and we will, in the workshop after this meeting, be talking with representative of Alliant so that we can try to come up and formulate a plan that is what we originally intended. So my take on it as a council person is that we paused this process at the last meeting because things were not coming to us the way that we wanted them and the way that we had intended. And so we are putting more time into it so that it can be closer to what our original intention was.
So the answer would be you're not for the 3% for everybody.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think this will all be covered in the work session after the regular meeting. And I think at that time, we can have a further discussion, because under citizens' opportunity, it's really your time to express and the council to hear you. But the council will have a chance at the work session to express all of their opinions and as Councilmember Greenwald said, work through with Alliant to come up with the plan that we originally intended.
I do hope that you'll stay, because I do have comments on it as well. I hope that you will stay for that, because I have an answer as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Tony is actually speaking for the company. I'm Marty Fox. I'm retired from Decker Manufacturing Company. I'm actually the CEO and the owner of it. I've been there over 40 years. And this whole deal is not about a few dollars. That's not what it's about. It's about a designation that affects us from everything to UPS rates to insurance rates. And if you go start messing around with our designation, and then everybody else can start because you did it, well, they say your city don't say you're industrial. So why should you be paying UPS industrial rates or whatever it is, insurance or whatever it is down? This company has been a manufacturer since 1878. It's not a retailer. We don't retail anything. We're a manufacturer, we're industrial, and we don't want anybody messing with that. There's more to it than just a few dollars on this designation, and it's more, a land in the city is not going to tell me what I am. We're a corporation, we're a century manufacturer in the state of Iowa. We're classified as an industrial manufacturer, and that's it. That's what we are. We're not a commercial outlet. We're a manufacturing process. And I just wanted to make myself clear on that before you have your work, your work period. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more citizens' requests, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Item number 6, minutes of the council workshop and regular city council meeting of August 18th, 2022. Minutes of the personnel committee of August 18th, 2022. Minutes of the safety committee of August 25th, 2022. Resolution approving the liquor license for Dollar General Store number 2385, 300 Main Street, effective September 21st, 2022. Class C beer permit with Class B wine permit and Sunday sales pending fire inspection. Resolution approving a liquor license and ownership update for the American Legion Keokuk Post number 41, 727 Main Street, Class C liquor license pending DRAM. Resolution approving off-premise 5-day liquor license for Lucky's Irish Pub and Grub, effective September 8th through the 12th, 2022. Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales for end of the summer band concert pending the application. Special event permits for 2 concerts at the Keokuk Rand Park Pavilion. Bring your own bottle for City Park, Friday, September 16th, and Big Huge Saturday, September 17th, 2022. Special event permits for J&M display fireworks for touchdowns for the Keokuk Homecoming, September 23rd, 2022 at Keokuk Senior High School. Motion to pay the bills and transfers listed in registrar's number 5292 through 5294. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7. Do I have a motion to appoint 5th Ward Council member?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hello, sir. Okay, you get to repeat after me. Are you ready?
Yes.
I, Dan Tillman,
I, Dan Tillman,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Iowa,
and of the state of Iowa,
and that I will honestly demean myself in office
and I will honestly demean myself in office
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and faithfully and impartially impart the duties
of Councilperson Ward 5
of Councilperson Ward 5
of the city of Keokuk
of the city of Keokuk
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
and in accordance with the laws
in accordance with the laws
of the state of Iowa
of the state of Iowa
and ordinance of said city.
and ordinance of said city.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome. When you're all done, come up and sign.
Huh?
When you're all done, come up and sign.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you may join us. Okay. Item number 8, motion to remove from the table a motion to approve the initial reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018, granting to Interstate Power and Light Company in successors and assigns a non-exclusive 25-year franchise to acquire, construct, erect, maintain, and operate an electrical system in the city of Keokuk, Iowa, and to furnish and sell electric energy to the city and its inhabitants, and requiring said company to pay a franchise fees to the city.
Madam Mayor, I request that the city council take no action and leave this item on the table, as we'll be discussing during our work session.
Any more discussion? Okay, we will move on. New business, item number 9. Motion to approve a second reading of an ordinance amending the employee residency requirements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
The Public Safety Committee is recommending the following changes to the residency requirement for sworn police officers employed by the city. Must reside within 45 minutes of the Keokuk by the most direct route as determined by a mapping system. Must establish residency within 60 days of hire. Must reside within the state of Iowa, and exceptions can be made by the city with city council approval.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No,
Roll call.
this requires a roll call.
Roll call.
Crenshaw,
Aye.
Altai,
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Wynn,
Aye.
Hellenthal,
Aye.
Andrews,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
Okay, item number 10.
Can I move to waive the third reading?
You want to make that motion?
Yeah.
She made, Councilmember Garcia is making a motion to waive the third reading.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Crenshaw,
Aye.
Altai,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Wynn,
Aye.
Hellenthal,
Aye.
Andrews,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
Need a motion to adopt.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Now you can do all.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item number 10, consider resolution allocating 5,000 hotel motel funds to the Historic Preservation Commission for the restoration of the historic Bauden House. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
The Historic Preservation Commission is working to restore Bauden House. In order to rebuild the foundation of the house, the commission requires donations. They are requesting $5,000 in hotel motel funds. The receipts for fiscal year '22 exceeded projections, and the requested amount would come from those reserves.
Did we get more of a list of what will be done with it? Or, I know the city offered to store the building material. Are you gonna pay for storage? I know the city had offered storage for the building material. Are you guys gonna do that? I just wondered how it would be utilized initially.
You have to come up to the mic, please.
Come on up here, Kip.
I'm sorry.
I would say, you offered the Ferrosil building for storage. What we're looking at, our first step is to get the studding away from the chimney so we can save that. We have a storage building out on the edge of town where we're storing the old shiplap siding that was the yellow siding that was on it now. At some point, we'll probably move everything down to the Ferrosil building so we've got it all in one spot. And I know that building from years past when I was calling when Foot Mineral was still in business. It's a very nice building and we appreciate the use of that. What we will probably do after you make a decision about the funding
is to call a work day and have anybody and everybody that wants to help out, get that laid over and pull all the studding and stuff away from that so we can get that floor out of there and we can get to work on the foundation. I would say we'd like to have all the building materials that we can salvage stored before snow flies. And then it's probably going to be spring before we can work on that foundation.
Mike, I think what the council's kind of not sure of is what the money will be used towards. If you're talking about moving this stuff and you've got the location gave to you, and you're talking about a work day and a lot of volunteers, where's this 5,000 going to start going into this project at? Or what are you guys needing to get that this 5,000 can help you with?
John, I would tell you that at this point, I can't tell you where it'll go, but it's all going to go towards the house. We have an opportunity that has been put before us for a massive amount of lumber for a very, very, very reasonable price that we can put new flooring in and new ceiling lumber in. So there's going to be that. There'll also be the brick and foundation stonework there. And we'd like to rebuild that wall that goes around that site also. So that's where.
So the more volunteer that you get taking it down and getting it stored, then the more this money can go towards actually reconstruction.
Reconstruction mostly. We're going to try and do most of the deconstruction with, free labor and free, with the city's approval, free storage of the lumber down there at the old Ferroso building, Ferroso warehouse. So most of the money, and we looked at it at one point at probably between 150 or 125 to 150,000 to put that back together with as much of the period material as we could. But this is getting us started. And we're going to do, we're in the process of applying for our certified legal government standing. And once we get that, then we can apply for state grants and national grants to put that house back together.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item number 11, motion to approve creating a utility position within the sewer department to have split duties with the bridge department. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
So things have changed just a little bit. Staff would still like you to approve the position, and I'll provide the general concept. We have an opening in the bridge department. Bridge department right now does not generate sufficient revenues to cover annual expenses. We've been using the reserves that we've had in order to fund the two positions that we have there in other operations. With the open position, we thought this was time to evaluate staffing and see what we could do. We are going to be doing some additional sampling for the CSO, and sewer maintenance is going to be collecting those samples. And we thought that with those added duties, because it's going to be multiple sites where we're collecting samples and collecting data on a daily basis. So we thought that by creating this utility position, that we could then give them put them in the sewer department for a time while somebody went out and collected the samples. Wouldn't necessarily be just this person. But when that was done, then they could shift over to the bridge department and do the duties in the bridge department. The sewer department, up until last week, had sufficient revenues to cover funding this position. With ADM closing down, we're having to reevaluate both the water pollution control and the sewer maintenance budgets. And we don't believe that we can actually fund this position at the moment. What we'd like to do is to now move to hire in the bridge department, because we do need that second person for operations. But ask the council to approve this position, but only fill it when we believe it is feasible, and we would come back to the council at that time and request permission to fill it.
So then what does that do with the bridge department? You said they still need that second person. So would we go forward and find that second person, but in a different capacity than what this position
No.
is?
Well, so what we do is we would hire this person as a bridge department employee right now. And that if at what time we can create fill the utility position, what would happen is because we now have them on board, we would put this out for bid internally with the union, and then would eliminate that second bridge position. That would trigger the layoff procedures. So the lowest person with seniority would be overall city seniority would be the person that's laid off, but then they could bid into this job. If somebody with a higher seniority bid into it, well, then they could bid into that person's job, and so on and so forth. It cascades down until they would still have a job. It's just they may not know what department they're actually in.
So how do we pay this second bridge position?
It would come from the bridge department, and we have to continue our efforts to increase the revenues, or at some point determine cessation of operations.
We haven't been able to increase revenues for the bridge, so I don't know where that's going to come from.
Can you say that again?
We haven't been able to increase revenue for the bridge. The
No,
trend is not going up.
We continue to just eat into the reserve. So,
And those are going to be gone quickly.
well, they're dwindling. The thing is we need that second person, or we need to not operate the bridge.
The person who you're planning on laying someone off, is that what you're saying that, and then they can bid in? You're planning on laying someone off so they could bid into this job?
What we would do is if we hire the bridge person now, and a year from now, we're able to do the utility position, correct? Then what happens is because we've created this position, every person within the unit can bid into it. But it's not an extra position. So we have to eliminate somebody in the bridge, because the idea is that we no longer would pay them out of bridge. So we go and we lay off the lowest seniority person in the bridge, but they can get a chance to bid into the open spot.
Yeah, I don't love that. I'd like to hire someone for the bridge and then reevaluate approving this position when the time comes.
However, the council would like to do that, but either way, I mean, because we would come back and ask to be able to fill it. It's just that the union did approve the creation, so we do have union's approval on it.
I just can see a lot of change from now to then. So that's me personally. Rest of council can feel however. I'd like to say yes to hire the person who is needed for the bridge and evaluate this when the time's necessary.
You don't feel that this position here will probably come to light in the next 3 to 5 years? Is that what you're kind of saying then? You think it'll be
No.
quite a ways out before we can go to a utility person, so we ought to wait?
Potentially, or if there's restructuring in others, can we create it so that someone else doesn't, you know what I just don't love the idea of hiring someone and then to plan to have a layoff procedure.
Well, it.
The layoff would
well,
would just basically be a chance they can either go to the open spot or they.
Whatever open spot.
And what if-
comes up at the end.
I just
It-
get
it-
real nervous about
It's a
that.
procedure, it's just simply a procedure we have to follow by the
Right.
contract.
I get the procedure. I just mean, who, you don't know who that last person is. What if they're not even qualified for this job to bid into it?
Well, what I'm saying is that, basically the qualifications for, across the different jobs is the same. You know, what we're looking at is, I mean, the biggest qualification is a CDL, right? Otherwise, we train.
Can,
I mean, because right now, if we had a position open up in the sewer department, somebody who's never worked in the sewer department, but has always worked in the street department, could bid into that job.
why can't we use this utility person on the bridge? We can't?
We can, but the problem is that the funding would come from the bridge department. And if we move them into the sewer department, we have to pay them sewer department rates, which are higher than the bridge department, because Robert and I already talked about that, of just hiring it as the utility person, but then we'd have to come from the bridge department and pay them a higher rate.
I got you.
If the council would rather wait, I mean, we were just putting it out there because then that's out there. And when the time comes, if the time comes, then we could easily just come back and just say, hey, we're ready to do it. But if the council would rather wait, the council can wait.
I guess my question would be, if the bridge is already in reserves, you're looking at adding 2 more people. I realize one of them is replacing a guy that just retired. But then you're looking at adding one extra that
No.
potentially would go to utilities eventually?
No. What it is if we were to do this right now, under the concept that we have, we would have one bridge department employee paid out of the bridge department.
Okay.
This utility person would have bridge duties and sewer duties, but be paid 100% from the sewer department at a higher rate.
Okay. And
Like
right
the
now,
bridges.
then he would just be an extra at the bridge department or basically wherever the city needed him?
Well, I wouldn't say he's an extra at the bridge department because we've been operating with 2 employees since 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Okay.
So right now, because of the retirement, we only have 1 employee, but we have 2 positions.
Okay.
The bridge does not stand by itself because it can't support itself.
Right, there's really no
We,
revenue. is
we charge per car being brought across there. Thing about that is we raise it and then they just bring in less cars.
there? That's once a day. right?
Well, no, it could be more than one, but and our employees work 8 to 4, and sometimes they bring a car train back at 6 o'clock. Then you got to work into an overtime situation, which it makes it even worse. So, this thing has been a fight since I first got here, and it never has paid for itself. But, in a way, we're just subsidizing a business or a factory. That's all we're doing. We can't turn it over to them. They're supposed to walk that bridge every day. It is not safe for just one person to walk that bridge. It's not safe. So,
That's the reason why we need the second bridge person it has to be walked and inspected on a daily basis. If it came down to where all we had to do was just turn the bridge, I mean, we could find other employees within other departments, but you have to be specially trained so that you can go out and inspect the bridge. You have to be specially trained so you can turn it as well. But you have to have 2 employees out there to inspect the bridge. Right now, we've been using supervisors to be that second person. If our one employee is there, just has a day off, then we're using 2 supervisors to go out and do the inspection.
I think that you should hire the second bridge person. It's necessary. I personally am saying that I don't want to create a position until it's necessary. And it should be a real simple, bring it up, hey, just like we are today, hire them tomorrow.
I would tend to probably have to agree with you because with the light of everything that's happened in the last 5 days, we have no idea right this moment what kind of structure we're going to have. But I would, and not trying to put you on the spot, Robert, but I'd like to have your input on this as far as waiting or going now, or, I mean, it's your guys and you can tell us a little bit more maybe.
We can go either way with it. The reason we was asking to create the position now so that in the future, if that's what we so choose to do, if we can financially afford to move that person over there, it would already be in place. It's taken us probably 2.5 months to get to the approval that we're at right now. If there's a bridge inspection coming up at the end of this month, not knowing what that bridge inspection is going to reveal, the end of this month could be the end of the bridge operating.
Well, that's the information we needed.
I'm not
Okay.
saying that's going to happen, but we have not had an underwater pier inspection for 12 years.
Yeah.
The piers weren't in the best of shape 12 years ago. I'm sure they haven't gotten any better. And I wanted to make one correction. The bridge, we walk the bridge once a week. It has to be done once a week.
Cole, is this other position, it was going to be paid out of the sewer fund?
Correct, it was going to be paid.
Because of the revenue stream that's drying up because of ADM closing, we have to redo those numbers to see if we can afford to pay this position out of the sewer department.
What it is I'd like to get to December to see where we're at, and then also during the budgeting process to see what can be done with those 2 budgets. And if there are further reductions or possibly, hopefully, some increase in revenue, there has been some interest in somebody purchasing ADM. If that's the case, depending on when they can come online, it could boost the revenues back up. So, until we get to that point, I mean, we're not gonna know real well. All I was doing was just like Robert said, it gives us a chance that, hey, this comes in, then all we got to do is be able to pull the trigger on it. But again, if the council isn't comfortable with doing it tonight, like Robert said, we can do it either way. We can come back when we think we can afford it and do it at that time.
I'd like to do that.
But then the other problem is if we hire this person now out of the bridge department, that reduces our revenues even further in the bridge department.
You're right, but we have to hire that bridge person. Either way.
We're stretched now to try to operate the bridge with the one person. I mean, we've got vacations. We've got just in the last month, I believe that employee was off for a funeral leave, which was 3 days out of it. I have 2 employees in the entire city besides management that know how to run a bridge or are capable of running a bridge. And we're struggling. So yes, ideally we was planning on creating this utility position that I think would have been a good fit for the city. And at the last minute, our plans have changed here. So that's kind of where we're at. I know it does seem confusing of going ahead and creating a position and not filling it right now. It's 6 one, half a dozen other, whichever way the council so chooses, we'll make it work one way or the other.
Well, we're in the process now of hiring people. I see we got signs out. Have we had a lot of interest in that? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we hadn't very many applications come in, so we ought to be able to hire these 2, at least the one bridge person pretty readily. Am I correct in that?
Yeah,
We're basically just, in reality, we're just only asking to add one more person to the roll call.
Right, but we're asking to fill the open bridge position.
Because we're going to do that anyway. You're asking really just, let's add one more to that.
No,
No,
we're not wanting to
no.
add anything. We would like to put this job for the council to approve the utility position in the hopes that somewhere down the road that we can,
That's what I mean. So right now, we're looking to hire one person.
but we won't add. What we
For the
would do would
bridge.
be, we would transfer, we would eliminate one job at the bridge and create one job at the sewer. So we would essentially be moving an employee from one department to another department.
Right.
So if we eliminated the bridge, then doesn't that create the problem we have now?
No, because the utility person would have bridge duties. They would
We just
do,
pay him a higher rate.
we would have to pay them at the sewer rate, but they would also have sewer duties as well. So they'd work in both departments.
But that's what I mean. So realistically, we're going to hire one person regardless right now because we have to fill the bridge. department.
Right. It's
So that's
just
what
that,
I'm-
it's just that in the.
All we're really asking is we just hire one more person, but he's not going to be a bridge. He's going to be utility with bridge operations capabilities.
We're just asking to create a position, but
Right.
not fill
But
it.
not fill it.
That's,
The only one we have to fill right now is the bridge. And then
yes.
the other one we just
Yes.
need.
This would just be,
Make it a viable position.
Bridge department, have the two there, and then consider the utility person on down the road. Because you're gonna need that person right now. Is that correct, Robert?
I didn't hear everything you
You're
said.
gonna need- You need that second person on the bridge right now, right?
I need the bridge person.
Okay, I would.
And that's
suggest
another
that we go
conversation,
ahead and
but-
Hire somebody for that position and then keep it open that we would possibly use the utility person on down the road.
Yes.
That's what I would suggest. Because we need to fill that department.
Yeah.
We need to,
We're just asking to approve this position in hopes that somewhere down the road,
that we can
We
fill
would
it
fill
on
it.
then, when it comes
Yes.
available, where we can do it.
Yes.
Right. Yep. That's what I think.
Okay, so we are sitting with a first and a second and a lot of discussion. I'm going to call, do we want to, anybody that's in favor, say aye?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
New position.
So the motion is to create the utility position, but not fill it and hire a bridge person at this point.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay,
Say take a roll call because.
we're going to take a roll call on that because it's changed a little since the number 11 was read first.
Crenshaw,
Nay.
Altude,
Yes.
Garcia,
Nay.
Wynn,
Yes.
Hohenthal,
Nay.
Andrews,
Nay.
Tillman,
Yes.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Nay.
5 nays for A.
Motion fails.
Okay, motion fails. We will move to item number 12. Motion to accept the resignation of at-large council member Dan Nguyen effective September 2nd, 2022.
Motion.
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just discuss the fact that when I served or when I ran for this position, I was all in. And life happens, and my wife and I was able to sell our house. We bought an RV. We've been traveling extensively a lot. As a matter of fact, we just got back we were gone all month long. This month, just a couple of days ago, we got back. We're going to be spending 3 months in Florida this winter. Still calling Keokuk our home, but whatever I do, I'm in 100%. And I don't feel like it's fair to the citizens of Keokuk that I represent or to my fellow council members to be half in and half out. So that's why I decided to resign this position and let someone that can put more into it than I can at this time. So thank you.
So just to let you know, Dan, that we were all thankful that you ran and we were all thankful that you won. And we thank you for your service. and we will miss you. We hate to see you go, and with sadness, I need to say, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item number 13, motion to fill the at-large vacancy by appointment.
So moved.
Just as a review, the appointment must be made within 60 days of the vacancy and shall stand at the next city's general election of November 2023. If an appointment is not made within 60 days, a special election will be called. A public notice announcing the intent to fill by appointment must be published no less than 4 and no more than 20 days prior to the meeting where the appointment will occur, which is October 20th. A majority of the entire council, 5 members, must vote to make the appointment. Within 14 days after the publication or 14 days after the appointment, a petition can be filed by residents of well, in this case, it's not the ward, it's the city because it is an at-large, to hold a special election. If so, the appointment is temporary. A valid petition must have 1,000 signatures or a number of signatures equal to 15% of the voters who voted for the candidate for the office at the preceding regular election where the seat was on the ballot. We'll go through the same procedure. We'll ask for any interested party to submit a letter so stating with any additional background. And then at the October 6th work session, we'll hold a candidate forum. This time, I'm hoping to have several candidates, and I think there might be. So we'll do the rating system again. And at the end, the candidate with the highest rating would then be voted in at the October 20th meeting.
I'd just like to say, and we talked about this on the radio this morning, that this is a large position, so it's the whole city. So if you're interested in being on the city council, please, please come and try to be the appointment. Also, if you feel like the city has not, done what you think we should, and you spend a lot of time saying that, please come down and see how we run, and please come down and come and be part of our city council and learn from the experience. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 14, boards and commissions.
Yeah, final notification for Building and Housing Advisory Board. Brian Carroll, term to expire 9/19/2023. We do have a vacancy for an electrician. Susan Hannon, term to expire 9/19/2024. Dave Dye, term to expire 9/19/2024. Dev Kadesh, 9/19/2024. Terry Twitchell, 9/19/2025. Second notification on Rand Park Pavilion Commission. First notification on Airport Commission, and a first notification for renewals on the Rand Park Pavilion Commission. So I do need a motion for the Building and Housing Advisory Board.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item number 15, council liaison reports. Do we have any? Item number 16, staff reports.
Been working on the RFP for 600 Main. It is finally done. Woohoo! So that's going to be sent out in the next couple days. Hopefully we can get some developers interested in the project. Also, we did hear back from the state on the pilot program that they have invited us to submit a full application. It's not quite what we actually submitted it for. They call it a pilot program. What we initially submitted it for was some new housing in 629 Main for the rehab of that building. They do not want any new construction. They more or less want rehabs of homes at a targeted area. We can do like 657s, abandoned housing, and rehab those. So we met yesterday, Cole, myself, the mayor, Shelley Altmans, Kira, Tim Peeler, several of us to come up with a plan to submit for the application. So hopefully that'll be due October 1st. I think we're going to try to submit for $1 million. Hopefully have at least 20 rehabs for homes in the community, and maybe 2 to 4 rehabs on abandoned housings. So not saying we'll get it, but at least we were invited to do a full application.
We're still in the process of pumping down our digester to be cleaned. Time's not pressing, especially now. So we're going to get that pumped down as much as we can to save on whoever does end up finishing the project. And as was mentioned earlier, I had a call, someone interested in ADM. So, you know, there's positives to be taken from that. We'll just see how that all works out. Hopefully everyone's cooperating on their side, and you know, things can look up.
Tom, did you have any idea that ADM was struggling as much as they were before they decided to pull the plug, so to speak, on this whole operation? Did you see that coming?
No, not at all. You know, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation with plants all over the place. And to look at them as financially struggling, they did not indicate that. And the more we look back at it, it paints a clearer picture as to how they looked at their plant here. And we think that this has been in their thought process planning for years, possibly years. So, and it just got to the point where they couldn't keep things to where they needed to be kept, and it was time for them to throw in the towel.
I just wanted the public to know that, because there's been a lot of rumors around town and on Facebook about why didn't the city do more to try and help ADM out. And I just want them to know that we did everything possible to help them with their process, help them in different ways. So a lot of what you're hearing is not true on the city's behalf. We tried to do everything possible to work with ADM on multiple occasions.
Yeah, and from every aspect, you know, from how they handled their pretreatment, we could not run their plant for them. But we helped them out as much as we could, from how they managed their pretreatment to possibilities down at our plant. Just whatever we could think of. It just didn't work out.
Tom, I got a question for you. I don't know if you have the number or not. I don't know how many gallons a day you guys take right now in the middle of a drought. But as far as ADM not producing water to the plant, do you know roughly what percentage of water's not coming in? I'm not talking about solids.
Right.
Just the flow itself. How much has our flow dropped?
They, on average, would send us about 500,000 gallons a day. And so that's what we're down. And we're down, I'm guessing probably about 0.9 MGD, give or take, you know, because a lot of things play into that too. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
I didn't want to piggyback off you, Dan, but I think it is important to clear confusion in the community that everyone up here is just as blindsided when factories close and the hospital leaves. I do encourage citizens to reach out to their, state rep, your senator who was contacted and didn't respond. So I just think that it's important that you realize that it negatively affects all of us as well. And if we could do something before it happened, I can't speak for everyone, but I'd be doing everything I could to stop that.
I'd also like to mention, if anyone heard the radio program this morning, that issue was addressed, I thought, perfectly. You know, it expressed everybody's concern and what the city has tried to do. as much as we can, as much as we could. So if you could listen to the radio program, again, that tells you a lot.
The employees out at the plant were blindsided. I've been out there doing some projects and I was actually out there the day on Friday when the company came in. They were actually doing hiring interviews the day before, the day of, and scheduled for this week. Had they known, they wouldn't have been going through the time and trouble. This was a $1 billion corporate job, had nothing to do with the employees out there, that they weren't working right. The city didn't work with them. This is the smallest ADM plant they own in 6 countries. This was a chess move. Had nothing to do with this here. The plant's been around out there for 50, 51 years. And it appears to me that they decided that they got the good out of it. It was time to go. They're building new plants. And I don't think the city ought to beat themselves up over it. I think we ought to pull together as a city and try to help out everybody that it affected.
Anybody else from over there? All right. So continuing the discussion on ADM, the shutdown of ADM will have significant impact on the water pollution control and sewer maintenance revenues. Staff has identified certain expense reductions that will help close the gap, but not completely. These reductions include one open position at water pollution control will remain open for the near future. Contingency line item and sewer maintenance will be zeroed out. We are expected to see reductions in electric usage, polymer usage, and sludge hauling at the water pollution control plant, as we're not going to have to operate as much equipment. We're not going to have to use as much power, which then translates in not having to haul off as much sludge. Staff estimates the savings will be close to $800,000. While this is significant, is well short of what is necessary to match the revenue stream. Sewer revenue saw a very large surplus at the end of fiscal year 22. Staff is recommending that we use that surplus of about $900,000 to meet this year's obligations and evaluate the situation in December as the steps necessary for fiscal year 24. There are options to shift some of the debt paid by sewer fees to the debt service levy. How much is being researched and would really need a lot of thought on council and staff's process. On a brighter note, as I said before, staff has been contacted by a firm that specializes in the brokering of food manufacturing facilities. The firm is looking to assist the sale of the plant, and we were contacted by a food processing company that is interested in the facility and is looking to visit Keokuk to gain more information. I'm hoping to maybe come up next week. All of you have your council picture in front of you, except for Council Member Tillman. So we'll need to schedule a time to get your picture, but we might wait until we fill the now open position over on this side. As soon as we can get that done, then we can get everybody's pictures up on the wall.
I got a question for the chief. Since we've changed some of the hiring requirements for the police department, have you had more interest, more applications, more whatever?
We're a little early yet. Our deadline is September 14th at noon. But and a lot of people wait till the last minute for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's always been a trend. So what we're seeing already is an increase in interest and an increase in applications. And there's a lot of chatter from sworn officers at other departments now that are considering our agency. So hopefully that comes through.
Item number 17, new business.
I got a question for somebody. I noticed the old Elkham site is getting cleaned up, brush and weeds, and is the city doing that, or is that somebody else doing that, or? Looking good.
So especially on the landfill side, we needed to remove we needed to mow it and to remove any volunteer trees in order to keep the cap closed and solid. So we've been working on that.
Looks good.
Okay, item number 18, we'll need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. We will resume to the workshop in 5 minutes. Meeting is adjourned. Yes, sir. That wasn't me, it's a spam. Now, does he? Okay, yes. I told him we'd sign it after that. Here you go, boss. Well, you just got married. You don't need to be in the 40 under 40. Oh my God, look at him. What a handsome man. Nice to meet you. I'm Kathy Mahoney. I just. Here we go. Okay, council workshop, September 1st, 2022. Item number 1, electric franchise fee.
After the regular last regular meeting, staff contacted Alliant Energy for further clarification of what industries were or were not included in the revised ordinance submitted by Alliant. At Alliant's request, I submitted the names of several industries that we believe fall into the industrial category. This information allowed Alliant to revise the ordinance further by indicating the rate codes considered residential commercial to be assessed 3% fee and all other codes at 1%. Alliant also provided a list of customers included in the 1% fee, but the list was by business type only, because as I indicated at the last meeting, Alliant does not divulge specific customer information. I did attach the list as information. Based upon the codes of the revised ordinance, Alliance provided updated estimates on franchise fees collections, which you have in front of you, and I can bring up here. So there's the revised amounts. This was the business list that would be considered within what we've been terming industrial, but they don't do it that way. And these are the rate codes that would be charged the 3%. So what it is they've redone the estimations on the franchise fee. I did some calculations on combined. So if we did a 1%, which is the all other customers industrial, and the 3% residential and general service lighting, that is $617,441. If we maintain the 1.5% on the industrial and the 3% on the others, it's $747,281. If we went with 1.5, 2.5, it's $687,654. Remember, our target was around $750,000. I did ask Alliant today as a possible compromise to this, where we would set the franchise fee at 3% for all classes, and then rebate back to manufacturers the 2% on their manufacturing electric. So I asked Alliant to draw up some numbers based upon those rate codes where a portion is not taxed. I was indicated that they are working on that, and they did not have that at the time of the start of the meeting. That is an option. Alliant has forwarded that option since the beginning of this process, and even in the last year when we were looking at two different rates. They indicated the city of Dubuque does something similar to this. This might be the only workaround in order to get what we want originally, which was that manufacturers would be 1% and all others would be at a different rate.
Well, our original, if we go back to the drawing board, the general fund committee was 2 and 2. That's what we
Right,
came with.
correct.
Was 2 across the board for all users. I know that I read somewhere, and I should have printed it off. I thought on the last agenda, Alliance said that you could actually change per user.
Yeah,
Yep.
come on up.
Madam Mayor and fellow council members, my name is Mike Wagner. I'm the Community Development Manager for Alliant Energy. Part of my job involves working with towns like yours and others on franchise agreements and franchise fees. On a real general basis, really for everyone's just kind of general information, we have a franchise agreement with your town. And that really defines a lot of the parameters of our relationship. At the heart of it, it's how we work in the right of way. If we need to dig a hole, if we need to put in a pole, how do we do that? If you guys want to do a road project and we need to move some power lines, who pays for that, when, that kind of thing. And a big part of that is also franchise fees, which you have entered into your franchise agreement. Now, the franchise fee is initially set up that it is a fee that you charge us to basically do business in town. It's supposed to cover any costs that the city incurs to manage our relationship. Like if you want to charge us a permit to put in a pole, you don't charge it, send us or make us send you a check for $50 every time we want to put in a pole. You just take it out of the franchise fee fund. And then according to state law, you are required then to spend any unused money on a variety of projects as allowed by the state code. So it's mostly meant to be a fee that you charge us to do business with us, and then you can then spend the leftover money on anything else because you're required to. And it has turned into kind of a thing where cities are using this as a funding option. I mean, it's something that's available to them. And because it is a fee on us, it is charged to all energy users, including the federal post office. The only group of people that's exempt is the city. And that's where it's different. A lot of people often consider it a tax or say that they're being taxed by Alliant or call it a franchise tax. It's really a franchise fee. Because it's a fee, it gets treated differently. The other issues and challenges that we face with this is that because it's on our bill and it says franchise fee, everybody assumes that we're the ones taking the money. This is your fee. This is not mine. I don't have anything to do with it. All I do is collect it. You tell me how you want to charge it, and I charge it. I collect the money, it sits in escrow, and then it goes to you. I don't even make interest off the money, okay? So it's just something that we collect because it's something that we're charged. You're paid quarterly in payments from us. Basically, that fee gets chunked out to 4 times a year. So every other town in our service territory charges the same franchise fee percentage across the board. There's only one, and that's Dubuque, and they administer a program where I believe the franchise fee language, I have it here, is set up so that if you are a tax exempt business, according to all of the ones in the Iowa code, the code section, 423.3 and 423.2, that then those companies and businesses and nonprofits and school districts are then allowed to apply to the city for a rebate, and the city handles that. The reason we are where we are today is because you want me to do it instead of you. That's the only reason we are. So what I've tried to do is work with our team over the last 4 to 5 months to try to figure out some way to take your definition of industrial, our definition of industrial, and put together a franchise fee amendment that we can submit to the Iowa Utilities Board that'll get approved by the Iowa Utilities Board. The biggest challenge we face here is that the other utility that does this, Mid-American, their rate structures are very simple in that it is residential, commercial, and industrial. So they can say they're going to exempt all of their industrial customers because all of their tariffs that govern how they charge their customers all flow out of that industrial title. We don't have an industrial title. We have a residential title, and then after that, we have a variety of tariffs that our customers can pick, so that businesses like Decker can choose a rate and a rate structure that meets their needs and their energy use. Their business could be seen as an industry. They're a manufacturer, they make things. But according to our rate structure, I have to put together a franchise fee amendment based on the tariffs, not on what kind of business you are. And what starts to happen is that the amendment that I have before you charges the franchise fee, the lower one, to 41 businesses in town. If I'm to add a 600 class, which is what his business is, I have to add an additional 792 businesses. Now, because our franchise fee system and computer are set up so that we charge all of our customers individually, we don't like when we're in charge of taking care of this, which is why we don't want it. This is why we discourage towns from doing it and say that if you want to do it, you handle the paperwork. We're not going to, because it's trying to figure out how to get all that together. Because my system, we found a way to do a workaround for a small group of businesses. 41, we figured out a way to do it for 41. If you want to add more businesses to that list, it's going to be 1,000 different businesses we are going to have to manage manually. And then every other business that comes into town on those exact same rates, we're going to have to manually manage those. And then, so what you're doing is you're starting to create more costs for us. And also, we're going to start to create a situation where we may make mistakes. We may have a customer that changes rates and is suddenly guaranteed a new lower franchise rate. But because we have to do it manually, we're going to have to put that time and effort into doing it. With 41, it's easier to manage. If you want to add more businesses, we don't want to do it. We're saying if you want to add more businesses, it's something that you folks can do, because we don't want to have to try to keep track of 1,000 different businesses and accounts in town. And it isn't that we're trying to be difficult here. We're just trying to be fair across our customers. We're also trying to keep our nose clean with the Iowa Utilities Board, because we can't be seen as discriminating against our customers. Because the rate class that Mr. Decker is in, there are several other businesses in that same rate class, because they're the way they're kind of grouped together. If I give it to him, I have to give it to every other business in that group. And that's where it goes from a small group of businesses to a large group of businesses. So the options are, I mean, you can look at the franchise amendment that we've written and decide that you want to go forward with it. You can look at an option where you folks manage it, or you can also look at an option where you just charge everybody the same amount. So I hope I've clarified a lot of it. It isn't that it's an issue with our computer, it's getting our computer and getting the tariffs and getting the number of customers all within a manageable amount. If we make, the bigger we make it, the more manual we make it, and then there's potential for more mistakes on our side and also a potential impact to our customers. I'm sorry, could you? What we did was we basically took the list that Cole provided to us and we looked at those customers and we looked at their rate classes. And then what we had to do is define it in reverse. And that's why when you look at it, it says 400, 407, 507, 600. Those are all of the classes that aren't. Because in the future, if we create more rate classes, we're more likely to create business classes than we are going to be residential classes. And if we leave it open-ended like this way, then it's easier, first off, for customers who are in the 3% to figure out if they're in the 3%. And then also, if we add more rate classes, then we don't have to come back to you and have you have to amend the amendment to add another industry. There is a list on the webpage, and I can send you a link to it, that lists all of our different rate classes. And I think when you look at that, it's pretty easy to understand why. Because I mean, I think if you drive around town, I mean, you look at ADM and that's an industry. That's pretty easy to figure out. That would be considered an industrial customer. As a utility, we charge based on use, and that's how we define industrial. But we don't really define industrial because we give our customers the option to have so many different tariffs to choose from. So that's why when you start to want to give people a break, it gets to be more difficult if I do it. Does that make sense?
I never realized you guys had so many different categories and so many different codes and stuff. No offense, but no wonder I can't figure out my light bill and what I'm being charged.
Yeah, actually, if you, well, when we wrote this, I was like, okay, if I'm a customer, where would I find out what rate class I'm on?
Exactly.
If you look in your bill, I believe it's the meters section where it shows the reading. At the top, it will say tariff right there, and it'll say, I can't remember, the residential one, I think is 400, 407, 507. Those are the ones that are in there. But it's one of those things that's set up because we'll have some businesses that are, big energy users. Like the first version that we wrote was one that basically would give a discount to some of the highest energy users in the city. But now as we try to add more and more energy users into it, then it just becomes more and more complicated. And it just becomes complicated in the sense of if you want us to do it. If you guys want to do it and administer the program, I believe Dubuque's, the way they run it, is that it is, if you have an 80% tax exemption, you get an 80% refund. But they have all of that on their city website, and I can put the city in touch with the person up there who runs the program if you want more information. Sorry, I speak really fast. So
No, you're good. What's the separation with the 41? I guess I'm confused that,
So what we did was we said, what do you call industrial? Because
Yeah.
I think some of it, like we said, when you look at it, you can figure it. But if I've got to put it on a piece of paper so that I can clearly say who's in and who's out, we asked for give me a list of businesses in town that you would consider industrial. And then we went through and we found out what rate classes those customers were in. And then some of the ones that were, I can't remember which ones they were in, we then went to all of the other customers in that rate group. So it was kind of like we grabbed one from here, one from here, one from here, one from here. But then we had to grab the 10 that were also in that group, the 10.
but I'm not trying to single out Decker, but Decker wasn't in the top 41.
No, they're in the 600 class.
Okay. I was just making
Right.
sure that.
Everybody else was in every other rate class but the 600 of the list that I was given.
So the list the original ordinance that he submitted, it was 1% for the top 2 electric users. The council at the meeting says, well, wait a minute, that's not what we wanted. So that's why we're here tonight. So Mike asked, says, well, what do you consider manufacturing? So I went Henniges, Morris Rubber, Decker. I might have had one or other one on there. Yeah, and ADM. And so from that list, then he went, like he said, he went back, found out what rate codes they were in, and then said, okay, I got to take everybody else in those rate codes. And so that's how he came up with the list of 41. Decker is the only one of what I put on the list that is outside those other rate codes. And like he said, that rate code would add 700 more.
792, I think it is. I think
additional customers.
So you don't base industrial, commercial, residential, you don't base that on what they do, you base it on how much electricity they use. Is that
Well,
what I'm
we're-
hearing? Because that's what you said, basically,
right.
is you decide whether they're industrial if they use enough electricity.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that we don't have a heading. I can talk about a customer and say that's an industrial customer, or commercial
Well,
customer,
my point
a
is, if I call
residential
my
one.
insurance company, and I used to be a contractor, and my construction company rates were higher than my residential rates, they didn't ask me how much I was going to use my insurance. It's what do you do? And I guess that's my question is how can you as any company, I mean, how can you choose what their business is by how much electricity they use?
We don't.
But that's what it sounds like.
I was given a list of what.
I understand that.
What I'm saying.
But early on, you said you base your classification on how much electricity is used.
Right.
Correct. So, but what it is they could take and put Decker into an industrial.
But that's
class,
my
but they
point,
would-
though.
but they
Just
would
because
have-
Decker is potentially, and I don't even know a whole lot about Decker, but potentially Decker is being efficient with their electricity and trying to save their money. They don't qualify because they didn't spend enough.
Well, I
But if
guess,
they had used more electricity, they'd be in that higher rate.
I guess the easiest way to describe it is that I don't have any rates that are labeled industrial. I mean, our rate structure is labeled electric,
Well,
large.
right, you've got
Right,
yours in
right.
codes.
But what I'm saying is that I needed a definition of what you call industrial. I asked the city for a list of businesses.
Right.
We then went through that list and tried to figure out a way to get those kinds of businesses, those kinds of energy users into the franchise fee amendment. Now, we're an energy company. We charge based on how much energy someone uses. How
No,
much
and that-
energy,
that makes
right,
sense,
and
but-
how much energy someone uses has no bearing on how we classify the business, whether it's industrial or whatever. What that does is that affects what tariff that we have filed with the IUB that determines how we charge that kind of customer. And if I'm going to file paperwork with the Iowa Utilities Board, I don't say industrial customer. I have to say tariff something, something, something. So it isn't that we're making a judgment on whether someone's an industrial customer or not. We're just saying based on the list we were given, this is for us to do this. This is the most manageable list of people on that list. If you want to include more people than that, then that would be a program that you would need to manage and not me.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, what I wanted to say was, our rate class changed because we spent just under $500,000 in new equipment and LED lighting to get our electric bills down. When we got them down to that level,
Then your rates went up.
we were rated as, instead of a medium manufacturer, a small manufacturer, and our price per kilowatt hour goes up. But our power usage went down, so we're in the 600 class. And we've got another new machine on order right now that'll be here at the beginning of next year. That's gonna help us reduce our power usage more.
That was my question.
Well, yeah, that was kind of my question is you have lowered your rates and you've put in things to potentially help you. I mean, every electric company across the nation puts out, hey, if you buy a new air conditioner, we'll give you an incentive to do that. They're trying to new efficiency. I worked for Peters for a little while, more efficiency. It's better on the grid. But it almost sounds like because they did that, now we're almost penalizing them because.
But in actuality, that 600 code rate that they're under may be a tariff that is at a lower price than if they were in a different tariff.
Well, that was my question at the last meeting when we read that people could potentially change their rate class to get the 1%. That's why I said, do the rate classes change your fee? Because they wouldn't want to go up a rate class if their electricity now is more than what the franchise fee would be at 3%. That's why I asked that question.
Right.
So
that would
I'm-
probably be just like one of those algebra problems you had in ninth grade.
Yes.
If
Well, that's why I'm
company A
saying-
was on this rate and
Yes.
used this much power and on that rate.
Yep. So I am glad that they're more energy efficient. I think that's great. I think we should get back to the topic. I personally would like to see 2% across the board if this is going to be too much of a hassle on Alliant. And I don't know how we could regulate that they were doing their portion correctly. No offense. But if you make a mistake,
Well,
we're never going to catch it until it's too late.
well, I think it would just come down to the fact that then we're going to have to we would potentially be putting ourselves in a position where we would have to respond to complaints or
Yeah.
audits, and it would just make it unmanageable.
Yeah.
You know, a smaller number is something that if we can manage it, then it's a cost that we can contain. But when you start to get kind of a runaway cost, then it's something where all of our other customers in Iowa are paying for a plan to help the city of Keokuk. And then that's where we also start to get in trouble with the Iowa Utilities.
So, Councilmember, just so you know that if we were to do it with a rebate, because you said it might be hard for us to administer that. If we do it with a rebate, we might not be doing 41 businesses. We might be doing 20. Because what we would do is, as he said, similar to the city of Dubuque, we'd say, if you are not charged tax on a certain percentage, you can apply for a rebate. And, you know, I think Mr. Decker said that 80% of his bill is tax exempt. So then we would give them back 80% of, you know, if we set it at 3%, we'd give them back, you know, we'd keep the 1% and then 80% of the next 2%.
I wasn't suggesting a rebate at all.
So I'm a little late to the table, but what was, you said 750 was the goal here. What, is it just to help our city budget? Is that what this is, just to bring more revenue in?
So,
without raising city taxes?
well, what it is we have a certain amount of revenue sources, right? And
Right, I saw that.
and the state makes available to us. One of those sources of revenue is the franchise fee.
Okay.
We are one of few communities that have not instituted a franchise fee, and the council resisted doing so for a number of years. When we were looking at our general fund and the shortfalls that we were having there, we made certain cuts, and even with those certain cuts, we still could not meet the projections for upcoming years. What solved the problem was the franchise fee, and we calculated it at 2% based upon what Alliant gave us for projected revenue. So that amount was around $750,000. When we announced to local industry that we would be instituting at 2%, two of the industries spoke up and said that is a significant amount because they would pay essentially 90% of the franchise fee, which was going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we went back and reevaluated and said, well, why don't we charge industry 1% and charge all other customers 3.5%. Alliance said that their billing system is not set up to be able to charge different rates or different franchise fees for different customers, different rates. But they said, well, they would look into their billing system to see if they could fix it. So we compromised and we said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to institute a franchise fee of 1.5% across the board. So we charge everybody 1.5%. Then in the franchise agreement, we put in a clause that said we can come back and we can change that. And we indicated that we would come back this year, this July, and start the process to change that so that we could go to where industry was at 1% for the franchise fee and everybody else was at 3.5%, though we saw some new projections and we thought we could take that 3.5% to 3%. When I presented that to the draft ordinance to Alliant, they said, well, wait a minute, that's not how we work, as he explained. And so the draft that they brought back had two rate code, or the rate codes that were included in the 1% took care of just the two largest electric users in town, the two largest industries. The council had a discussion on that and said, well, wait a minute, that's not what we wanted. We had promised our industries that we would work to get that down to 1%. And so We tabled that ordinance. I worked with Alliant. They came back with the ordinance you now have in front of you, where 41 entities, they're not all manufacturers, 41 entities, 41 businesses are classified at the 1%. And I'm not going to call them industry. I'm just going to say they're the 1%ers. Everybody else is at 3%. The discussion now is do we make further changes to either set it at one flat rate, as Councilmember Garcia has suggested, at 2% with no rebates, or do we set it at a different rate and work out the ability to rebate back to certain customers?
Well, personal opinion would be, let's set it at one rate, do it for a year, and then after that year, if we decide we want to do rebates, have each industry in town, we can figure out what we want to classify as industries, and then they can submit some kind of application or so, and that application would remain valid until either they closed up shop or we eliminated the franchise fee. But that gives us 1 year, takes all the headache out of them trying to figure out what classification they're in. We just do one across the board, and whatever it is, 1.5, 2, whatever, and do it for 1 year and see how it works.
I would double check with your city attorney. I think if you wanted to do a rebate program, you would have to spell it out in the actual amendment.
Exactly, and that's what I mean, but that would give us a year to work on what we wanted to do for a rebate. If we wanted to do a rebate, we could work on that from now until next October or next September.
I'd like to ask this gentleman, if you can make me exempt from 80% of my local option tax, why can't you do the same thing with the franchise fee? Why are we complicated?
My understanding, it has to do with the formula and how everything is calculated. And I'm not going to pretend to try to understand
All you gotta do, right now, right next to my tax, it says 80% exempt. You put a 3% fee, all you gotta do in those parentheses now is put 2% exempt.
I'm not going to pretend to understand how the computer's programmed or what have you.
Computer.
Well, but I think Mike, what it gets back to is that Tony, if he does it for Decker, he has to do it for everybody else in that rate code, which is another 790 customers.
Everybody else is designated industrial manufacturer by the state and the federal government.
But that's 700, but that's,
Shouldn't be decided.
but.
State and federal government have already decided.
Right. But the problem is that they don't classify you as industrial or commercial or residential. What they do is they give you a rate code, and that rate code is specific to your energy usage and your demand.
Well, that's why I'd rather,
They take it off my tax.
that's why I'd rather do the same, straight across the board.
Okay, guys,
You can't do it.
we need to be respectful and one talk at a time because we're getting all confused and I can't hear what everybody's saying. We need to take turns and be respectful, please.
If we go one across the board, then the city can classify you as an industry. If we decide to do one tax across the board, and then if we're going to do rebates next year, we would decide whether you would get the tax break or not, or that franchise fee discount or not. They wouldn't, we would.
I won't decide.
But that's what I
I'm just gonna tell you
mean.
right now, I won't decide. Because the next thing you're gonna have is, how come this person gets it and I don't get it, and it's gotten way too complicated.
Well,
So
I mean, that's.
I won't decide.
well, I guess my point would be is we wouldn't, the state, whatever the state says.
I think what he's saying is, it is complicated. I don't know why it's that way. I guess we have to ask the utility board why it's set up that way. But we're all guessing and we're all trying to figure out, can we do this? Can we do that? And it's opening up a big can of worms. This wasn't what we wanted. We was trying to save jobs. We was trying to get revenue into town. It's a lot more complicated than what it started out to be. And I think we're gonna have to back off of it and just do some thinking here and figure out which way we're gonna go. Because 41, I think we could deal with, and it's kind of asking you guys to do a lot, and I'm glad that you have so far. Throwing 700 in the mix, will really muddy the water. And I don't want to have our staff sit through and have to go through, okay, this person applied for this, what's their percentage of savings? Well, it changed next month. Where are we going to find the staffing and the time to go through and do all this paperwork? So I'm almost to the point of we just make it clear and simple, or we just totally get rid of it.
So, I guess where the confusion is we're talking about we can do the class, we can say they're industrial, we can say they're manufacturing, we can say, but that doesn't matter if we put those in those classes, because when it goes to Alliant Energy, that's not how their classes are set up. So we're going to have to decide as a group here how we want to move forward. I agree with John. I don't think it takes this much to get a man on the moon. We have put people on the moon, I think, easier than this. So we need to step back and decide what we think. And I personally agree with, we just need to go straight, a flat fee across the board. But then again, we're going to have people that don't feel like that too. So I think we need to step back and decide which way we really want to go. I just see too much conflict.
So the couple of options that I've heard that have been discussed, I'm just trying to help clarify, like Madam Mayor just was that there's been said, hey, let's just do the 2% flat fee across the board. But originally that had resistance from industry because a couple of large players would be carrying the brunt of the load, which is why the city then initially backed down from that idea. The other option is 3% across the board with a rebate system of some form, so that then we can have industry apply for that so that they can get the 1%. But then once again, we've got management headaches. We have to track that. Somehow we have to then coordinate with Alliance so that we can see billing.
If you're going to do a rebate, you don't do anything with me.
Nothing with you at all.
No,
It's all in
they get charged.
So how
Basic.
do I know what their 3% is that they paid originally?
I don't know how Dubuque has their system set up, but I would assume it would be, here's my
Generally,
bill.
Generally, Mike, what it is they would have to submit their electric bills. And like Mr. Fox says, down at the bottom, it says 80% exempt.
Mhm.
Then we give them an 80% rebate.
We're getting a copy of the bill from the client.
Right.
Because Alliant, that's their
Right.
confidentiality.
My understanding is that the city has a portal and that they make it electronic so that people can upload it.
Yeah.
So, and like I said earlier, I can get that information to the mayor, the clerk, and get that out to you guys.
Probably not. Probably not.
I said that, but yeah.
But you could hear me without this. You said that we're one of the few, the only one that doesn't have a franchise fee. of our size?
Cole said that. I have a list that I could send to the city that has the most
Well,
recent list that I have.
once a city comes into this, have you ever had one do away with it?
I've only been in the position since February, so I don't have quite the longevity of my predecessor who had that 40 years of knowledge under his belt. I would say from what I've seen lately, it's gone the reverse. I don't know if everybody got an email from the state on funding all in one day, but I got probably 5 emails in one day about franchise fees. And I continue to get requests from cities about franchise fees because they're looking for income.
Everybody's looking for another revenue source.
They're looking for another revenue source, yes.
Because the state keeps taking away funding, especially from small cities like ours. I think that it would be important to go, like I said, I guess back to the drawing board. We had discussed 2 and 2. I think John is the only one who was on general fund with me. I think that we go back to that, talk to the industries like Griffin and Roquette, Decker, ADM's not in the picture, Hennages, the ones who came to that one meeting. That's the other part that I think is important to point out. It was so detrimental, but they've only been to one meeting, and I've seen you guys multiple times. So if it is so detrimental, we need to see somebody here, 1. And 2, discuss, is it in our best interest to find our own commercial class or our own industry class for rebates? How much time does that take out of staff? But I don't know that we're going to get anywhere here.
I suppose our third option is to do nothing.
Yep.
If we do nothing and it stays at 1.5, even across the board, that does leave us, if 750,000 is the goal, that leaves us roughly 180.
700 was the goal, and we should be ahead because projections were low.
Using the numbers on this sheet, and with Cole saying 750 is the goal.
I just meant our actual goal was 700.
Sure.
Projections are higher.
So that would leave us $135,000 short if we did nothing.
Yep.
I have a different definition of nothing is to not put in the franchise fees. That is doing nothing.
Well, it's already been established. If we do nothing, we're not changing what already exists. The 1.5% already exists.
I'll get a copy.
We already have the franchise fee in?
Yes.
If I could just briefly, and this might also just help you to kind of visualize it. What I've done is I've sent you, given you, above is kind of your language, and then underneath that is the city of Dubuque's language from their franchise agreement as far as how they define which businesses are eligible for their fund or for their rebates. And then if you go to that Iowa section in the code, it is lengthy and will show you everybody who would qualify under that. So that's how they come up with their definition for the rebate, because a lot of businesses, because of their business, are tax exempt in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and I think it's important to state that we talked about this. The projection that we had of what the franchise fee would collect has got to be low. No offense. Alliant has gouged most of us all summer. So use was higher or price was higher. So we collected higher because of the percentage. So it may be worthwhile doing the 1.5 to see what it actually came out to.
Well, what I on here, what I will tell you is that the second quarter payment of the franchise fee was lower than the first quarter.
But higher than projected is what you had said, that we were higher than.
Well, when we first started talking about this, I hadn't gotten the second quarter one yet. And so I just extrapolated out based upon the first quarter. And from numbers that were given by Alliant, these are the most recent numbers from Alliant is what you have in front of you.
Is it fiscal year or calendar year? Have you received like July, August?
The franchise fee is based upon calendar year.
Okay.
And the energy use statistics that I've given you are based on January 1 of last year to December 31st of last year.
Okay.
And then the list that you're looking at right there, I subtracted ADM's energy use.
Okay.
So I guess if there is a new ADM, then we would have to figure out some kind of thing to help you figure out projections for that. I mean, and the other thing too is right now what I do is I grab the city's energy use dollars and then pump them into an Excel spreadsheet that then puts it out from anywhere from 1% to 5%. So those numbers right there are down to the cent and have specific dollar amounts. But really, I want you to kind of consider those and really look at those for your planning purposes as estimates, because those are based off of energy use. So if customers use more electricity like they have been this summer because it's been really hot, then the energy use goes up, the amount of energy they're buying goes up, and then that way the franchise fee would go up proportionally. At the same time, if we have a relatively mild summer, then energy use is going to be down, so then the franchise fee amounts were going to be down. So I know that those estimates kind of give it all the way to the penny, but I would say that that's just kind of a round, rough estimate for your planning purposes, not to kind of look at it and go, we will get $389,000.
I assume the hospital was included as well. And they would be a relatively high
literally just
user.
found out about the hospital when I
Yeah.
showed up.
Oh, I'm not mad at you. We all did today. So that would be a relatively high user as well.
The fee is only on what you charge for electricity that entity uses.
It's on the gross revenues of energy.
So if I put in solar, I will not pay that much on the energy fee.
I will need to figure out how that works if you have solar. I would think it's the energy on your bill, but I don't know where the payback amount is factored in. So I hope I provided some more information and kind of cleared up as far as just why what I've put in front of you is the way that it is. And again, I really want to make it clear that this is not something that we're actively choosing who's an industry and who's not, who's a manufacturer and who's not, and who's a business or who's not. What you have in front of you is an attempt to spell out what you want to do.
Well, just out of curiosity, can you tell us what the average most of the cities in the state of Iowa are using for a franchise fee? You said most of them are using a flat fee. Very few of them are doing any type of split fee. Most of them are doing a flat fee across the board.
We have no customers that are doing a split fee like this.
What is that average franchise fee?
I have a list that
basically?
I can send. I would say generally most cities are in the 2 to 3% range.
So
I've
right
had
where
some
we're at
lately-
anyway then.
I've had some lately that have gone up to 4 to 5%. The other thing is without getting too far into the weeds, you can't have a local option sales tax on a utility bill and a franchise fee. It's one or the other. So because most towns are already charging a 1% local option sales tax, they then switch to a 1% franchise fee.
Okay.
And they do that because then the citizens aren't paying anymore because they're already paying 1% extra.
But as far as the fee, sounds like we're right in the same ballpark as everybody else. If we were to go with any of them, whether we did the flat rate or even the.
I can get you the list that I have that has all
I
those.
was just curious. It's not like we're way up or way down. Doesn't sound like compared to everybody else.
I've had some small town city councils that I've been to that have immediately gone to 5, and I've had others that just want to do a 1% swap.
You're asking about the franchise fees for other cities in Iowa. Right. That's available on the internet. I've looked it up for all the cities. And just for you guys' information, in our area, Mount Pleasant, the most growing community in our area of the state, no franchise fees. Of the top 5 cities growing in Iowa, 3 of them, no franchise fees. Of the bottom 5, 4 of them, franchise fees. Now, all that stuff's available on the internet, the rates, who they are.
Then this,
I've been calling communities and all around us and asking questions for about a week now. And it seems to me that most of the communities that are doing well do not have franchise fees.
Did you look at their complete structure? Because I have looked some of that up, and with some of them that aren't going to that, they're also going to a hybrid fire department, or they're going to volunteer fire department. When you look up and say they don't have it or they do have it, you still have to compare apples to apples. So, and the whole reason we've gotten where we're at now is to try to save services in this town. So unless we compare all of that, we really can't go off of just this one or just that one. And we've spent, I don't know how many hours in meetings and trying to look that stuff up.
I didn't look at any of that.
Well, what he's saying is it was franchise fees or jobs.
9 months trying to find out the least painful way of keeping the town afloat and keeping all the services that we have.
Yeah.
Is kind of our
Sir, I'd
goal.
like to inject something there.
Yeah.
I was born here in Keokuk 84 years ago, down here in St. Joe Hospital.
Uh-huh.
I'll leave the rest of it. I spent a military career and then come back here in 77. And in the last 10 years, I've seen this start down. And everybody, well, you guys wasn't on the council, so you couldn't have seen it. But if the city would have spent as much time and energy trying to squeeze money out of the people in the companies in this town, helping us to productivity and grow, you wouldn't be in the position you're in now. And you know, I know every time it comes up to get more money out of us for something that's threatened to lose fire departments or this or that. And I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of being scammed, threatened. You know, it's not our fault. It's bad management.
I agree with you. We've been declining since the early 80s.
You know, I've seen it over the last 10 years, and you guys that are old enough, you know that it started about 10 years ago.
I looked up the census in 1960, we had 16,000. And ever since then, we've lost.
When I moved back here in 77, this place was in beautiful shape. Beautiful, and it just continued to go downhill. And
It was in, but every one of them industries we lost people. And Champion International, you know, I know for a fact that the mayor at that time asked him, said, we'll give you 20 years free taxes. Said, you can give us free taxes forever. We're leaving.
we have taken a business and
You know,
I'm not going to be bragging, but we've taken a business and we went from a debt-ridden business to a debt-zero business. And over the past 10 years, we have went through, you got to pay for a fire inspection. Every time I turn around, we had to pay for something. You got a fee. Now, if we aren't classified as industrial, then I guess I don't have to buy that permit to have my sewer permit to use my bathrooms. Is that correct? If I'm not industrial, then only industrial people have to buy that.
It's Alliant that says you're not industrial. No one else says you're not. Only Alliant says you're not industrial. Because Alliant doesn't say anything.
I'm just fed up with, if you get this franchise fee, it ain't gonna be enough. It's not gonna be enough.
So,
I apologize for being.
and we understand your feelings, and I understand that it's very difficult for you, and,
Another good example of where we could have grown. I wanted to put a building up. I didn't put it up because the city wanted me to spend an extra $200,000 to put a brick facade and stuff on it when there was a darn building across the street from it with no roof.
so I think we're getting pretty far away.
How can you grow when you do stuff like that? You've got to use common sense.
I think we're getting pretty far away from what we're trying to do here. And so I'm going to thank you for coming and explaining everything to us. And I hope that we're going to get together and maybe, as Roz said, and as the other people here have said, maybe we can go back to the drawing board just a little, maybe get our general fund committee back together, and let's go from there. And we thank you very much for coming and trying to explain it to us.
I would say if you are going to move the route of a rebate and you are going to use the tax exempt status, I would contact the Department of Revenue to try to get a list of who is tax exempt. Because tax exempt status changes and the percentages change, the list that I would be able to pull out of my computer is basically going to be just the most up-to-date paperwork I have. And if I have a company that hasn't filed that paperwork, I'm not going to have them in my computer.
Okay.
So if you're going to look for a list to try to figure out who would be tax exempt or who wouldn't be, it might be easier for you guys to dig that list up rather than for us to dig that list.
Okay, we will look into everything that we
And I
need to
should
look
say
into.
one other thing. My colleague Kay Sackville is here too. Kay is the key account manager for the city of Keokuk and is a prime contact. I would say that if you're moving forward, as you get into talks with somebody who potentially may be interested in taking over ADM, to include Kay in those conversations. As a key account manager, she has contacts with our economic development department, and our economic development department basically is just somebody that can work with you to find other ways and options to bring other people to the table to hopefully make it easier to lure a new business to town. I can't make any guarantees, but we want to do everything we can to help a town and help a community. If you succeed, we succeed, and that helps really everybody. So if you don't have Kay's information, I could definitely make sure she gets in touch with you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
for coming. Okay, let's move on to the discussion on item number 2, discussion on the council goal actions.
One way to ensure that goals set by the council are met is to complete action sheets. The sheets attached identify the departments and key personnel that will be primarily responsible for ensuring that action steps are completed in a timely manner. Each goal has a set of action steps with targeted completion dates. After adoption, the action steps for each goal, adoption of each of the action steps, staff will begin to give reports at the first meeting of every month on the progress of meeting the goals. Updated action sheets will be presented, as well as oral reports on progress and any delays. Action items related to the goals on the meeting agenda will be clearly identified as such, and favorable passage emphasized by staff. After reviewing here at the work staff will present the action sheets with a resolution for adoption at the September 15th meeting. So as you go through the sheets, we have the goals that you set forth for us was improve and increase the housing stock, implement the rental inspection program, rehabilitation of South 18th Street from Main to National Cemetery, street repair and improvement program, and develop and implement a vacant building housing inspection. Under the housing improvement, increased housing stock, the departments are administration, legislative, and community development, with key personnel being mayor and council, the city administrator, community development director, and community volunteers. The first action would be develop, advertise, and receive RFPs for 619, 621, and 623 Main Street for redevelopment, and including upper story housing. That is to occur between September and October 2022, with key personnel being the community development director and city administrator. The next action step would be meet with respondents of RFP and recommend proposal to city council and award project, transfer the property to the developer. This would occur November 2022. Key personnel, city administrator, community development director, elected officials, and volunteers. Third action step, continue development of pocket neighborhood project, follow up on pilot grant application as Pam stated tonight that we're looking into. Continue property abatement and acquire properties. This would be August 2022 through August 2023. Key personnel, community development director, code enforcement officer, and volunteers. And the last action step listed, though others can be added as we go along, continue housing rehabilitation programs, apply for additional CDBG housing grants, work with Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission using ARPA funds for housing rehab grants, and this would be September 22 through July 2024. Key personnel, community development director, and city administrator. Are there any questions on that? Pam, did you agree with my timeline? Okay, so is there any questions on that one? Anything anybody wanted, I know it's a lot coming at you. Anything anybody wanted added? Anything we don't think we're doing right? Okay. Who said that?
Hey, Pam. Sorry. It's kind of a side note. Do you know when there will be forums for the rental forum? Or the rental inspection and all of that? Yeah. Am I good to say like early next year? That too early? Okay. Okay.
Well,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
so the next goal action plan is rental inspection program.
Solid.
Thank you for the segue.
You're welcome.
Key departments, fire and community development, key personnel, fire chief, fire personnel, and community development director. First action, development of rental inspection ordinance, including policy and procedures. This would be September 2020 through December 22, key personnel of the fire chief. Next, establish calendar for implementation, including education of property owners, November, December of 2022. Fire, key personnel, fire chief, community development director. Next action step, implement the program in July of 2023. We decided that we would give that, I believe it was that, give a 6-month buffer between when we put the ordinance in effect to July to begin the education and application process and everything that's necessary. And the key personnel is the fire chief and fire personnel. Any questions on that goal? Okay. The next action plan is rehab of South 18th Street from Main to the National Cemetery. Key departments, administration and public works. Key personnel, mayor, city administrator, public works director, and city clerk. First action step, engage engineering services for design of the street, prepare RFQ for solicitation of proposals, review of proposals and recommendations to City Council. July through September of 2022, we have done the RFQ and got the proposals back, so we're on track with this one. And the key personnel is the city administrator. Next action, continue solicitation of funds for the project, public and private source identification, application and follow-up, July 2022 through completion. The key personnel is the mayor and the Road of Honor Committee. The next action, complete design to prepare for solicitation of bids, October 22 through January 2023. Key personnel, city administrator and public works director. Next action step, bid project with construction to start in spring of 2023. This would be in February, March of 2023 with city administrator and public works director as key personnel. Last action, begin and complete process to bond for general obligation debt necessary to complete the project should we not have sufficient grant funding. That timeline is January 2023 through March 2023, and the key personnel is city administrator and city clerk. Any questions on that action step? Oh, as the RFQ? Yeah. He did come back. The committee reviewed the two proposals, and under the fee structure, one proposal listed not only the design fees, but the construction management portion of it. The other did not. So I did ask him for that, and his response today, I believe, was around $300,000 to $500,000, which is similar to what the other proposal was. Right. So that is in addition to the design fees. Okay. Under street repair and improvement program, key departments, administration, public works, key personnel, city administrator, public works director, city clerk, engineer, techs, and street superintendent. First action, review and update street assessment, visual inspection of streets to determine current condition, rating of streets to allow determination of priority roadways, July 2022 through October 22, key personnel, public works director, and engineer techs. Action number 2, present revised street assessment to city council, set priorities and identify projects for the next 3 years, present financing plan for projects. This would be November, December of 2022. Key personnel, public works director, and city administrator. Next action, determine scope of projects, identify what aspects of projects can be completed with city personnel, identify projects that need to be engineered and competitively bid. December 2022 through January 2023, public works director and street superintendent as key personnel. Next action, bond for street improvements, January 2023 through April 2023, city administrator and city clerk. Next action, engage engineer for design of road work, March 2023 through March of 2024, city administrator and public works directors, key personnel. Final action, bid projects as necessary, August 2023 through August 2024, key personnel, city administrator, public works director, and city clerk.
Robert, where are we with those early items like the street assessment? Okay. Okay.
So the final goal, develop and implement a vacant building inspection program. Departments, community development, housing, and fire. Key personnel, community development director, fire chief, and code enforcement officer. Action, develop and adopt vacant building ordinance. This includes a workshop with city council to discuss the ordinance, present at city council meeting for consideration and passage. July 2022 through September 22. Are we there, Pam?
you're having a public hearing, or not a public hearing, but a public meeting for the public on September 14th.
So the next action is development of program and procedures and protocols. This is July 2022 through September 22. Fire Chief and Community Development Director. Next action, hold public information meeting, invite owners of known vacant properties, September, October of 2022. Community Development Director, Fire Chief, and Community Enforcement Officer. Last action, develop a list of properties and begin inspections, April of 2023. Fire Chief and firefighters. Any questions on that last action plan? Any comments on any of the action plans?
Council, and we didn't really, I mean, we kind of looked at it, but is there a specific fee that you would like me to target on these vacant housing registry?
I kind of like to
What she's
scale
asking
that.
is there, it's,
The ramped, yeah, I
so
like that
the
also.
first early times that they're
Yeah,
on it,
yeah.
it's not much, but you get the delinquent
Okay.
people and you really.
So
punish them.
I mean, are you thinking $25, $50? Are we talking?
I said I'd like one that had a scale to it. So say the first time you're on the registry, it's
Oh,
X
yes, I
amount,
agree.
But then after you've been on it, it
Progressively.
keeps going up the longer you stay on it.
I only like that if nothing's being done or the plan isn't being implemented.
Sure.
Yeah,
I like
think
that.
yes, that's kind of what Casey and I discussed. I think if someone is continuing to try to make
Yeah.
improvements to the property, I don't think that we want to
Then it would stay the same.
continue to take that money away from trying to get into the project. Yes.
Are we going to do something? I saw Fort Madison had one where each month you aren't registered, you get fined. Are we planning on doing something that way or will it be yearly?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've definitely got fines in the situation,
I hate the thought of doing that, but it also is, if there is no teeth to it, what's the point?
Yeah, I did see Fort Madison had, if they gave them an opportunity to register their property.
Yep, by a certain time.
By a certain time, and the fee would not be charged
Yep.
that specific year. So, I mean, if I'm going to this public meeting, I'd kind of like to at least have something of a fee schedule for people to review. And I can send that all out to you.
Okay.
And you can just comment to me.
All right.
Are we talking vacant houses that are just not being taken care of? Is that?
It'll be both, even if it's a taken care of house.
I
you'd be
guess my
registering it
question
as
then
vacant.
is, are we having the experience with that now? Because some of the vacant houses are owned by people that don't actually live in this town. You know, we've.
So they'll be
got
sent
a handful
letters
of
to
things like
register.
that. So if we're sending them these fees, are we actually getting these fees?
Well, then we could put a lien on the
I
property.
mean,
if they don't
in,
pay.
historically, if we've been doing this, are we actually getting what we're sending them? Or we just keep sending them and they just ignore it?
They would get a lien on their property after the fines aren't paid.
Because personal opinion is, I like the idea of, okay, first offense, slap on the wrist, third or fourth offense. But eventually they need to get a letter signed by a lawyer, signed by a judge, says, we're going to take possession and we're going to sell this piece of property. And the city's going to take the money.
That's
Or
how
you
the-
have so many days, because I mean, the fees eventually, if they just ignore them,
The lien would be on the house, then they can't do much when there's a lien on the house.
what's that?
There would be a lien put on the house for the fees that are not collected and they would continue to grow as the fines aren't paid.
But if they're, and I mentioned I was a contractor before. There are companies that out in Utah and Washington, they buy land and businesses and things really cheap all over the country. And they don't really care if you put a lien on their property because they just bought it as a tax write-off. They're not really doing anything with it. But if we actually take that from them and we're going to auction it off and the money we auction off for now becomes the city property, then we're going to get a little more response from them if they know they stand to lose that property.
But legally, we can't take a property from somebody. If they own it and they're paying the taxes, we can't take that property. That's theirs. We don't have a right to take it.
Mr. Tillman, you can come into the office and we can kind of go through all the legalities of abandoned
I'm
properties.
just, if it becomes a pretty serious problem with a couple of them, we need to be real aggressive and maybe even get lawyers and judges involved versus just putting a lien on it, because
Well,
it becomes an
if
eyesore.
the property gets to a certain condition, then yes, we can go through a process in order to obtain the property.
And that's what I mean. We just need to make sure they're aware of that, because as I stated a couple of weeks ago, somebody moving into town, coming to look in town, and we've got half a dozen houses or half a dozen buildings that are just vacant, and they look like they haven't had anything, any access, any real motivation going on. And they've been that way for a number of years. That's not going to improve our town. And it's not going to bring in residents. It's not going to bring in businesses. So we need to be the ones that are already on the list that have been there a while. Opinion is we need to be real aggressive about either making them do something with it or stand the cost of some serious penalties and some serious fines.
The problem we run into is that once we acquire the property, then we have to do something with it. And if you want to tear it down, which is usually what happens when we take them under 657, which is the Iowa code, is that as we go to take them down. Now you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 in expense that we're not going to recover in taking that building down. Because now what it is we then have a vacant lot. And that vacant lot, we might be able to sell to each neighbor or to a neighbor for a few $1,000s. So we never fully recover our costs. So what happens is that the vast majority of that money then comes from the general fund, which doesn't have a whole lot of money to put into this type of thing. So under the vacant registry, by us getting those that are cooperative, knowing that, hey, you've got a vacant building, you've registered, we're going to expect you to take care of it. We can then narrow the scope of what we have to concentrate on. And yes, there's always going to be those properties that do not comply. And we'll just have to figure out what we can do in order to get them to do so.
I just know it's becoming more of a problem, but if they know that really all they're going to do is pay a $50, $100 fee a month or $300 fee a month, whatever, but their tax break on that is $5,000 a year, for them, it's an economical fine. We'll just keep paying the fine. And so if we're going to start ramping them up, we need to get real serious with some fines to make it cost them money. We need to get into their pocket. And that's what'll make them do something with the building. If it doesn't cost them anything, I mean, I'm not great at math, and it's been a while since I've been in school, but if I can pay you $500 instead of and then the state's going to give me $5,000 for the same piece of property, I'll pay you $500 every month of every year that I have it, because I'm making $4,500 a year as a tax break. And so that's what I mean. We need to get real serious about the ones that's been on the list for a while that are the problems, I guess, if you want to call it that, and I don't know what the answer is for sure, but we've got to do something different than what we're doing if we continue to have the same buildings empty, because what we're doing isn't working.
And I believe that's the intention of this, is to do something different and to have that teeth so that we can maybe get some compliance.
Okay, guys, I think it's time to go home if everybody's ready.
I so move.